Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Call of Leadership podcast, where we interview people from our Michigan community who answered the call of leadership. We'll hear their powerful stories and get their advice. Today's episode represents a very special episode for this podcast. It started when I read an article in a local magazine about this amazing group of people working together for a very special cause that they are all extremely passionate about. Today, we'll be talking about Carter Kits, designed for children with autistic spectral disorder. It's a kit that first responders can use when responding to emergency calls. Behind this amazing team of Carter Kits are my guests today, Dr. Ellen Preen, Lieutenant Brandon Husbeck, Andrew Keller, and Detective Justin Sievers. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Oh,
hello. So we'll start off with Ellen. Ellen, why don't you tell us where you grew up and where you're from and what it is that you do?
Actually, I was born and raised in Malaysia. I'm biracial. I'm Asian and Polynesian. I'm a clinical neuropsychologist, practice in Connecticut. So I work predominantly with children and adults to do assessment to find out how their brain functions. And I have published and I have presented as well. And I think more importantly, I have a 19-year-old daughter who has autism. So I think that, I have somewhat of a unique perspective when it comes to working with this population.
Brandon, please tell us where you're from and what it is that you do.
Yeah, hi, Cliff. I'm from Saginaw, born and raised, lived here my whole life. I work in Saginaw for the fire department, City of Saginaw Fire Department. Currently the training and safety officer. Been there a little over 10 years. Really happy to be a part of this new venture that we now know as Carter Kits.
Excellent. Thank you. Andrew, tell us where you're from and what it is that you do.
Well, I'm Andrew. I'm from Davison originally, now live in Frankenmuth. I am a real estate agent. My former life was a TV reporter for a local television station. So it's very special opportunity to be able to help put these Carter Kits together, because I've known Carter for quite a while now, for many years. And, to be able to kind of have this vision and, having the support of Dr. Preen, Brandon, and Justin, as we continue to kind of grow this thing, I think it's a really special thing. And I think these kits are going to make a difference, not only in mid-Michigan, but across the nation.
Excellent. Justin, please tell us where you're from and what it is that you do.
Yeah, I originally grew up in Birch Run. About 5 years ago, we moved out to Frankenmuth, where we are currently living. Right now, I am a detective with Saginaw Township Police Department. I've been there about 6 years. Originally, I met Brandon when I worked in Saginaw. I was a road patrol officer there.
Excellent. Now, Justin, for those who are listening, why don't you tell us what is a Carter Kit?
A Carter Kit is something we put together. It's for originally it was for first responders, and it has sensory tools in there: toys, a weighted blanket, noise canceling earmuffs, and some sunglasses for when responding to a scene where there's a child or a person with autism. Just something to help them in order to calm them at the scene. Obviously, when we're there, you have lights. Everything's kind of chaotic, but anything we can do to calm that situation.
Why don't you tell us about that first day when you thought about the idea for a Carter Kit?
Yeah, actually, Brandon and Andrew and I were in a group text message, and we were talking, and it came up that we should make something like this, or we wish we had something like this around the area for children with autism. And Andrew kind of grabbed the bull by the horn and said, I'm going to do it. And he put in his own money. He ordered the stuff, and next thing you know, we had 10 kits that he donated to the local agencies, and since then it's kind of spread like wildfire.
That's absolutely great. Brandon, when going through this text message and you're talking back and forth, what was it that went through your mind when this idea was presented?
Well, it seemed like something that I couldn't believe that we'd never thought of this before. I'm like, this makes so much sense. Why has this never come up? Why have I never seen anything like this? And so when we were discussing it and figuring out what items should go in it and things like that, it just made sense completely, 100%. And I was all in. And like Justin said, Andrew was kind enough to donate 10 right off the bat. So we were able to get a presence going locally. And then we saw how it just took off, and it was amazing, and everybody wanted one.
Andrew, obviously you love the idea as well. What was your thinking behind it to just, automatically say, you know what, I'm going to step up and get the first kits going?
Well, I got to add a little humor to it. So I'm in a text message with Justin and Brandon, and all they do is go back and forth. Having one as a police officer, one as a firefighter, they continuously kind of go at each other. So it's a funny text message to be in. And one day it got serious when Justin had the idea of, that what could we do to make our community a better place? And it was one of those aha moments, I guess. I'm always looking to help. Luckily, I have the opportunity to do these things to be able to help. So what I did was, I took the opportunity and I talked to a bunch of specialists, autism specialists in the area. What do these kids need? Weighted blanket, noise canceling headphones, sunglasses, or fidget toys, I should say, and nonverbal cue card. So we got it going, and I at first I didn't have the nonverbal cue card in the kits, but that has been something that we have since added. But I also took the opportunity to talk to my fiance, Meg McLeod's mom, and she has a good friend named Dr. Preen. And Ellen has been an excellent source of information for this. Obviously, with her background as a clinical neuropsychologist, we wanted to bring her in. We quickly realized, we were focused in on just autistic children at first. And she said, guys, this could be something that could be used for special needs all across the board. So, we thought about it, and they can be. And, these, obviously the initial impact of it is having young Carter as well as Ellen's daughter on the autism spectrum. But, at the end of the day, we kind of dropped the autism name because these are sensory kids. If you have special needs, there are things inside that can really open the opportunity for other children or even adults who first responders interact with, to give them an extra tool in their toolbox when they show up to a scene to help with the community, help deal with these traumatic situations as best as they can.
Excellent. So then my next question will be for Ellen is, I know that there's a lot of organizations out there doing a lot of great things for children with autistic spectral disorder, special needs. What was it specifically about the idea behind the Carter kit that attracted you?
Well, I think that going back to something that Justin had mentioned, and also Brendan had brought up, that why haven't sort of this kit or kit similar to this has been brought up or come about. And I think it speaks to a larger problem in our society, because I do not think that we consider mental health to be an important part of our well-being.
Wow, that's an interesting idea. What makes you think that?
So, for example, like Brendan and Justin are saying, in the first responders toolkit, there isn't anything to help calm a person down during a time of crisis, right? The first responder tend to say, are you bleeding? Let me check for your vitals, check for your blood pressure, any concussion. But we don't say, gee, how are you feeling right now, emotionally? And I think that those are the issues that speaks to a larger problem in our society when we don't deal with the mental health issue, that it struggles, I think, for a lot of people to then personally to own up that they need some help in the mental health realm, but also speaks about the society not understanding that mental health well-being is just as crucial as your physical well-being. They always say, people first thing is ask me, are you bleeding? Are you hurt? I'm not, but doesn't mean that I'm not hurting inside.
Right. That's actually a very good observation. And I want to go back, Ellen, to something that Andrew pointed out before, and that's the fact that first the kit was built for children who were on the autistic spectrum disorder, but you actually pushed to expand it. Why did you push for that expansion?
I think that is a combination. Mostly it's because of my own work experience, my clinical experience working with children with a variety of struggles, and specifically with school district who had the unfortunate event of the school shooting. I really get to see firsthand how the children, some more than others. I do think children are resilient and they're wonderful, little beings. But with a traumatic event like the school shooting, definitely leave a mark. And I think that as a society, we should be responsible to bring to the awareness that it's okay to say, I'm scared, I'm sad, I'm kind of glad I didn't get hurt, but I'm glad my teacher got hurt. So those are the things that I think when I look at the big picture, I feel that not just children on the spectrum would benefit from this Carter kit, but anybody in general who, like the guy said, when you show up with flashing lights, sirens blaring, clearly there was something, number one, that precipitated that brought them to the scene to begin with, right? And now you have all these commotion going on that is very confusing to them. And even the best of us sometimes under those circumstances will be hard to manage and to cope with the situation.
So, Ellen, I know that you're very influential in the design of the kit and what goes into it, as well as further refinement and improvement. What guides your decision-making process when you're saying, this should be in the kit or we need to design something new? What guides your process or your thinking?
What really comes down to is, especially children on the spectrum, or even individuals who are under stress or overwhelmed, our sensory perception tend to sort of go overboard. So for some people, it's much harder for them to calm themselves down because it's due to a combination of perhaps lack of ability or the event itself is too traumatic for them to handle. So I think that it's important to address these sensory issues during those moments and give them tools that they would not have otherwise to cope. So distraction would be a tool. Okay. Because when they're so fixated on, something bad that just happened, if we can give them something else to fidget, to play with, that would take their mind off it, even for a minute. I'll take that minute over no minute. And then when it comes to, especially, whether children or individual with anxiety, with trauma, with autism, they tend to have that hyper sensitivity as well as hyposensitivity to their environment. All of a sudden, a noise that would seem benign to them before, right now is too much for them to handle. So if we can put on the earphones and block out some of the noises to help them center themselves, that would be a great tool for them to use.
Yes, because I could imagine that in the time of an emergency, there's going to be a lot of noise going on that would really scare somebody who didn't maybe understand what was going on or couldn't be able to process it. So.
Well, and I think this is perhaps something Justin and Brandon can answer. When you guys are on scene, how often have you seen even adults, right, would get overwhelmed and confused with what's going on?
Brandon, this question is for you. I know you're responsible for the logistics of it. So who prepares and ships the Carter kits?
So right now we have a pretty cool partnership with SVRC in Saginaw, and they are set up. They have a lot of employees there that have special needs. Not all of them, but they do have some there that they help get them jobs and things and, a paycheck. And it's a really good program. So we thought, well, how cool will that be to partner with them? They can put these kits together. And not only are we helping people with special needs at the end when they get the kit, but we're also helping people with special needs that are getting a paycheck and putting these together. So we kind of thought it was like a full circle type thing. Unfortunately, with the current situation with COVID-19, SVRC is obviously shut down until everything returns to normal. At the current time, luckily, we have some resources amongst the four of us that at this point, we're just putting them together on our own and then working with our logistics companies to ship them out and all of that. But obviously with the COVID-19, we had a delay with inventory and a delay getting all of our products. And we're finally starting to catch up, get back to where we can send the kits out.
Speaking of sending kits out, Andrew, this question's for you. So you were really influential in getting the first kits out there. And I know that some of the kits went to the fire department that Brandon works at, as well as the police department where Justin works. What went through your mind when you first saw the kits? I mean, we're going from an idea, now they're actually a reality. The kit is there. What went through your mind when you first saw them?
When I first saw them, I knew that these would be big. I also knew that there would be a huge increase in the number of people that wanted to get their hands on them simply because of having Brandon, Justin, and Dr. Preen all a part of the team. So we get these kits in, and I'm thinking, okay, well, I had put out press releases to all the local TV stations, newspapers, so on and so forth, and they all showed up. And once that happened, once I saw them all there, I knew that this thing would spread like wildfire. Within the next couple of days, we received phone calls from, I believe it was about 10 states. In just a couple of days, I gave my phone number out there, or people found my phone number. When they got a hold of me, they said, how do we get a hold of these? And that's kind of, that's where it really took off. At first, it was kind of one of those things where we looked at it and we thought, should we just do this yearly and then, maybe make next year a bigger year yet? Well, I said on that day, December 12th of just 2019, that by next year I wanted to have 50 of them out. With all of us working together, putting our plan together, so far we've sent out, I think we're at about 80. Brandon, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but we're somewhere in the 80 to 100 range of kits that we have sent out or accommodated with different departments and individuals. And, that number is going to increase exponentially once we kind of get a little bit of normalcy back throughout the country with the COVID thing. I think the coolest thing about it is people recognizing the need. It's a great story. We have a real person with Carter, who's a 5-year-old child on the autism spectrum disorder. He is one of the guys that I knew would make this take off because he's outgoing, bubbly, and he's a good kid. So having all of those aspects together, along with Brandon, Justin, and Ellen, and myself, all working hard to make this thing continue to be a reality, I knew it would be big, and it has been. I can't say I'm more proud than being able to do something and really make a difference.
Justin, this question is for you. With these kits making their way out into the field, what went through your mind? Because you were part of that initial conversation about, hey, let's build something, but now it's actually going out there. People are calling on the phone. They're saying, I want this kit. What were you feeling inside based on this reaction?
Well, at first I really couldn't believe how quick it grew. Once Andrew came up with the I'm going to donate 10, and his initial statement was, we're going to call these Carter kits after Carter. I found that kind of special. You want to name them after my son. And then all of a sudden we're getting calls from other states, and we went down to Alabama, and it was just kind of almost overwhelming at first. You didn't realize there was that big of a need until it came out. Once we started getting calls from these other states saying, we want these, what do we need to do? We realized that we got to continue with this. Like Andrew said, he wanted to have 50 of them out by next year. And I just looked it up, and I think we're at 85 right now that I counted. And I know I'm off a few, so we're already double that. But yeah, it's definitely special.
That is definitely special. And I know that, for the interview process for this, you've gotten a lot of ink. Your face has been, put on TV and being interviewed and stuff. What is it like to go from someone who kind of works behind the scenes, all of a sudden you're being thrust into the spotlight?
Yeah, it's definitely a change. I've never been one to stand in front of a camera, but I guess the most important thing for me is, like, when we were down in Alabama, to watch the way that Carter interacts with, people because of this. He's been a lot more outgoing, just being able to interact with the people. I think that's the most important thing, is the change I see in him. And I guess if I have to step in front of a camera for that to happen, I'll keep doing it.
Now, from my understanding, I read something where you were giving an interview in Alabama, and your son Carter started to get a little bit fidgety, and you actually used one of the Carter kits.
Yeah, they were trying to interview me at one of the stations down there, and Carter just kept tugging on me, wanting me to go play with them. So we ended up pulling out some of the fidget sensory toys, and he went over and he just grabbed a ball, one of the stress balls in there, and he just kept throwing it against the wall, and it totally changed his thinking and his focus. And I was able to do the interview because of him being occupied.
Wow, that's completely awesome. Love that. With the kits making their way out into the field during this time, you're probably getting a lot of feedback from first responders, and how has that feedback helped you to further refine the Carter kit?
So yeah, we're definitely still in the process of getting that feedback, but I think some of the things that we've learned right off the bat is we weren't hitting every single child that has ASD, autism spectrum disorder. One of the things that we added because of that was the nonverbal cue cards, where Dr. Preen, Ellen went through, and we worked with a local autism agency here in the area as well to try to get together these cue cards, because that was one thing that parents wanted to see. Obviously, it's not going to be tailor-made for every child, but at least it gives Fire EMS an opportunity to have a card where they can point at certain things to try to tell the child what's next for those children that do not communicate verbally, essentially. So we've kind of leaned on Dr. Preen as well as a local autism center to really increase our opportunity to hit all facets of the autism spectrum disorder as well as we can in the simple passage and donation and purchase of these bags. So I think that, we're definitely learning. We're seeing what people want. Feedback that we have received has been good. And I think like Dr. Preen said, we're still in the very early stages of getting feedback. And, I think it's going to be interesting to see how it all works out.
Yeah, because I can imagine that with this being relatively new and just getting out there, first off, probably most of the first responders are just grateful to have something that they can use out into the field.
Yes, absolutely. And I think we're seeing a lot of that. As we get more requests, at first it was only five different departments. And now this is a number that Brain and Justin will have. Now we're in a ton of different departments. And with that being said, more and more departments want these because they understand the value of them. And I think, where we anticipate this going, I could see Dr. Preen jet setting to local departments or even doing YouTube videos, how to use these, how to deploy them out in the field. There's just endless opportunities. I think that's the number one thing that we have learned is we need to kind of move with the times, communicate with people who have them, talk to others who don't, and see what we can add to them to make them better. So it's a really cool opportunity for us to kind of use what we have, the template, continue to grow on it. So yeah, there's certainly a great opportunity for us to continue to grow on it as far as having her expertise and having her knowledge and really continuing to grow this to what it is today.
Andrew, if I didn't know any better, I would say you sound like a marketer.
Well, I could get some people together. TV stations and newspapers together. And you know what? I think that's the number one thing about this. The marketing of the Carter kits. Again, we got into this never thinking that we're going to get rich off of it. And chances are we're not. The bottom line of why we got into this and why we are going to continue to push these kits is because we want to make a difference. We all still work our full-time jobs. This isn't going to be our bread and butter. But for us to have the opportunity to spend a little extra time, use a few of our personal hours to put these kits together, to pass them out, to do our Facebook marketing, to tell people success stories, show them what Carter's up to, show them how Carter's kind of growing as the kits continue to go out more and more places. That's the best part because people love the kits, but the majority of the people love the story. And that's why I think this has been really successful. And I think that that's what differentiates us from any business that could potentially put these together, to have the opportunity to have the actual story behind it for real people that are pushing it and, just using our expertise and trying to continue to grow it to where it is today.
You bet. And speaking of story, because I know the Carter Kits is named after your son, Justin. What was his reaction when you told him that the Carter Kits were named after him?
Well, I don't know if he fully understands that what their purpose are as far as helping other people. He sees one and he thinks it's his. That's mine. It says Carter on it. I'm sure as he gets older, he'll understand that they're out there helping other kids. But as of right now, he just believes they're for him.
This question here, I'm going to open it up to anyone who wants to jump in, but I would love for you to tell us a story or maybe tell us a time where and I know we talked before about a Carter Kit with Carter, but I'd like for you to tell a time where you actually witnessed maybe a Carter Kit that was being used in the field.
Looking back over the 12 years that I was on the road, I definitely think of some times that I look back and I'm thinking, man, we could have used that. This one kid, we would get called over to his house all the time and he would need to go to the hospital. And the thing we were able to do was have 4 of us show up and just hold the kid down. We actually had to physically restrain him to the ambulance bed, everything. At that point, maybe if we show up and we have these tools, maybe we get that rapport with him to where we didn't have to fight him. We wouldn't have to restrain him and he would be able to cooperate a lot better with us. And then it's even expanding on him, car accidents. I mean, it doesn't need to be exactly somebody with special needs all the time. I mean, even if you show up onto a traumatic car accident where, you're going to your mom or dad or somebody's hurt, you could just pull these out and, give one of the kids the toys that would comfort them.
I don't have a story, but I'd like to sort of expand on what Justin just mentioned. Is part of the toolkit, the purpose is to take a more proactive stance to helping the individuals to self-soothe or calm themselves versus, like Justin mentioned, up to the point that if the person already de-escalated to the point that you need to restrain them, that becomes a whole different situation versus if we can be proactive and help them to calm themselves down, then we would not even need to get there.
And then, I think another good thing too is one of our major donations was to the MMR, Mobile Medical Response. Every ambulance in Saginaw County has a Carter Kit. And with those Carter Kits in every single ambulance, we talk to a lot of EMS people, and that's really been the segment of the first responders who have had the most interest in these, because they're the ones who are showing up on scenes where, maybe somebody is having a heart attack and they have a child with special needs, and it gives them the tool that they never had before. So, to be able to put Carter Kits in every single ambulance in the county, have other ambulance services around the region as well as around the nation that want these because they see the advantage of having them, I think that's really been an eye-opener as well. To be able, again, kind of what Justin and Ellen have just said, to be able to have the opportunity to, be proactive rather than reactive, rather than the hands-on approach. You give them something that they can put their hands on as far as a toy, a fidget toy, noise-canceling headphones, sunglasses. That just takes us to the next level. And I think, in my opinion, it creates an opportunity for more of our community approach to mental health, to children who have the special needs, to be able to say, what, we understand that in every community, these children, these adults exist. What can we do to give ourselves the opportunity to be better prepared rather than, having to be reactive to a certain situation?
Yeah, you bring up a good point, and I know that Ellen mentioned this earlier, but just giving first responders the tools that they need so they can be proactive. I love that term, proactive. So that's very good.
Absolutely. And then I think in Brandon's situation, when we first brought up this point, and I'll let Brandon expand on it, they're bringing these huge trucks and people dressed up in, their full fire get up gear and so on and so forth. But for these children to have a little bit of soothing, the tools to help them get through these points. And Brandon, I'll let you explain, but I just think it's a really cool deal for all first responders and a really good again, proactive tool in every situation.
Yeah, absolutely. We have a hard enough time getting kids to not be afraid of us, let alone, a child that has special needs. We put all of our gear on, all of our breathing equipment, and, now we sound like Darth Vader, breathing off this oxygen. And so kids tend to be scared of that. And, unfortunately, I even remember one of the fatal fires I've had during my career where a kid actually came outside on his second floor patio, but ran back inside because he was scared. He didn't know what to do. And unfortunately, he perished in his bedroom closet because, he was scared and he didn't know what to do. So the Carter kits are something that, to talk about the proactivity of them, it's something else we can also use to relate to these kids and to get in front of them. And so it helps them realize it's another step in that direction, that we are a friend. We are here to help you. We're not going to hurt you. We're not, there's no reason to be scared of us. And anytime we can accomplish that, it's a great thing. So I think Carter kits are really going to help with that as well.
One of the things we hear a lot on the police side, when the kids are being bad, what do their parents tell them? If you don't behave, I'm going to have them arrest you. So as a kid, you're going to be scared, obviously, of the police. You get that bad feeling. I see a cop, he's going to arrest me. And that's something we don't want. So where we can pull these kids out, we can get that rapport with these kids, or we can get that friendship with them to say, look, hey, we're not bad. If something happens, we want you running to us, not from us. So I think that's one of the big things too with these.
Justin, so if people want to connect with what it is that you're doing, or perhaps even donate money towards a Carter kit to help out first responders, what's the best way for them to do that?
Well, the best way, we have our website. It's www.carterkits.com. On there, you can actually purchase the Carter kits. And then also, through our nonprofit side, we are teamed with the Saginaw Community Foundation. You can go onto their website, you can do a search for Carter kits, and you can make a donation through there. Recently, we have secured a donation from the 100 Women Who Care of Mid-Michigan, and that was just under, I believe, $12,000. From that donation, we're going to be able to donate about 250 kits, which we promised them we would keep locally, so they are going to go here around Mid-Michigan.
I think Justin hit on it a little bit earlier, but I just wanted to make sure any of your listeners understood kind of our model that we have. If someone out there decides I want to purchase a Carter kit, whether it's for my home or for a local department or my church or whatever, they do that at carterkits.com. And you can purchase, one, you can purchase 50, you can purchase 500. There's no limit there. The other portion of our business, as Justin also mentioned, is we have a partnership with the Saginaw Community Foundation, which is a nonprofit entity. And we have a Carter Kits fund there that people can donate to. And in turn, we donate Carter Kits to police agencies, fire agencies that maybe otherwise cannot afford them, or the individual just wants to donate to.
A portion of the business is also to give back, and that's what part of our model is. Every kit that we sell, a portion of the proceeds are going to go to donate some of these kits to local departments, as well as departments that might not have the means in order to get these kits into their departments. So that's a very important portion of what we're trying to do, is just really give back, as well as give the opportunity for people across the state and across the nation to get their hands on the kits.
Thank you all so much for being on the podcast today. I really do appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Hey everyone, real quick before you bounce, if you want to join me on this journey to learn more from these fascinating community leaders, then hit the subscribe button at the top of your podcast player, and I will catch you in the next episode.